Across the American coastline, massive shipyards roar to life. Welders, engineers, and workers, many who have never built a ship, assemble a new kind of vessel. The Liberty Ship. Crude, boxy, unstoppable. It can be built in days, not months. And before German U-boats realize it, the Atlantic will no longer belong to the wolves. Every Saturday, midnight at 9 p.m., join me on YBR The Sword and the Story to witness the moment German submarine dominance collided with American industrial power, and the tide of the Battle of the Atlantic turned forever. January 16th, 1942, 2:37 a.m., North Atlantic, 300 miles east of Cape Hatteras. The ocean is black, not dark, black. No moon, no stars, just the slow rise and fall of winter swells rolling through the Atlantic like breathing giants. And beneath those waves, a hunter waits. Inside U-123, the air is thick with diesel fumes and sweat. 44 men are packed into a steel tube, barely longer than a city bus. Condensation drips from pipes. The red glow of battle lamps paints every face in shades of blood. At the periscope stands Kapitänleutnant Reinhard Hardigan. His eye presses against the rubber eyepiece. He turns the scope slowly, calmly, like a man surveying his kingdom. Then he stops. Lights. Not one ship, five. 5 merchant vessels moving along the American coastline like a floating parade. Their decks are illuminated, windows glowing, navigation lights shining clearly across the water. Hardigan lowers the periscope slowly. A thin smile spreads across his face. Americana, he mutters quietly. The Americans haven't blacked out their coast. They're sailing like it's peacetime. Hardigan turns towards his crew. Rohr 1 und 2 klar machen. Torpedo tubes 1 and 2 ready. The order ripples through the submarine like electricity. Valves spin, metal clanks, compressed air hisses through pipes. Within seconds, 2 G7E electric torpedoes sit armed in their tubes, silent killers designed to leave almost no wake. Hardigan raises the periscope again. The merchant ships drift across the crosshairs like targets in a shooting gallery. He whispers calculations under his breath. Speed, distance, angle on the bow. This is what every U-boat commander dreams of, a convoy that doesn't even know it's in a war. He breathes once, calm, precise. Then, fire. The submarine shudders gently. 1 torpedo launches, then another. The crew waits in silence. 10 seconds, 20, 30, then boom. The sound travels through water like thunder. Even inside the submarine, the explosion rattles the hull. A second explosion follows. Hardigan looks again. 1 ship is already burning. Another is listing hard to starboard, lifeboats spilling into the sea. The American coast glows faintly on the horizon, but there are no warships coming. No destroyers, no patrol aircraft, nothing. Hardigan shakes his head slowly, almost in disbelief. The world's largest industrial nation, completely unprepared. And tonight, the Atlantic belongs to Germany. But Hardigan isn't alone out here. Hundreds of miles away, other German submarines are hunting the same waters. Among them are the most feared men in the Kriegsmarine. Names that Allied sailors whisper with dread. Gunther Prien, Joachim Schepke, and the deadliest of them all, Otto Kretschmer. The British call him the Silent Hunter, because Kretschmer prefers to attack at night, on the surface, slipping into convoys like a wolf among sheep. No warning, no wasted torpedoes, just cold, methodical destruction. By early 1941, Kretschmer has already sunk more than 40 Allied ships, over 250,000 tons of shipping, an almost unbelievable record. German newspapers celebrate him as a national hero. Photographs show him smiling confidently in his captain's cap, Knight's Cross at his throat. But what the photos never show is the war he's actually fighting. Because life inside a U-boat is nothing like the heroic posters in Berlin. Inside U-99, Kretschmer's submarine, the smell alone could make a man faint. Diesel fuel, rotting food, unwashed bodies. The crew sleeps anywhere they can, often sharing bunks in a system called hot bedding. One sailor wakes up, another immediately takes his place. Fresh bread runs out after the first week. Then it's canned meat, pickled cabbage, and whatever fish they can catch from the ocean. But none of that matters when the hunt begins, because when a convoy appears, every man on board becomes part of a deadly machine. Hydrophone operators listen for propeller sounds through headphones. Navigation officers calculate intercept courses. Torpedo crews load weapons that weigh nearly 1.5 tons each. And Kretschmer stands quietly at the periscope, patient, waiting. He once told his officers, "One torpedo, one ship. Efficiency is everything. Waste nothing. Strike perfectly." And in 1940 and 1941, it works. Convoys burn across the Atlantic. Cargo ships sink faster than Britain can replace them. And every successful patrol strengthens a terrifying idea inside German Naval Command. What if submarines alone could win the war? Back in Berlin, Gross Admiral Karl Dönitz believes exactly that. Dönitz is the architect of Germany's submarine strategy. A thin, intense man with sharp eyes and absolute conviction. He studies maps of the Atlantic constantly, convoy routes, shipping lanes, naval patrol patterns. To Dönitz, the war against Britain is simple math. Britain survives only because supplies cross the Atlantic. Food, fuel, steel, ammunition. Destroy those ships and Britain starves. Collapse becomes inevitable. Dönitz calculates the number carefully. If Germany can sink 700,000 tons of Allied shipping every month, Britain will fall within a year. That's the number, the magic number. But to reach it, he needs more submarines, many more. In 1939, Germany has only 57 operational U-boats, barely enough to patrol the Atlantic effectively. Dönitz wants 300, a Wolfpack large enough to tear the Allied supply chain apart. And in early 1942, it finally seems possible. Because America has just entered the war. And strangely enough, it makes things easier. December 7th, 1941. Pearl Harbor burns. America declares war. Within weeks, German submarines receive new orders. Cross the Atlantic, attack the American coastline. The operation receives a dramatic name, Operation Paukenschlag, Operation Drumbeat. 5 long-range U-boats sail west, among them Reinhard Hardigan's U-123. The journey itself takes nearly 3 weeks. Storms batter the submarines constantly. The Atlantic in winter is merciless. Waves slam into the conning tower like hammer blows. Men inside the hull are thrown from bunks. Food spoils, clothes stay permanently damp. But when they finally reach the American coast, the crews can't believe what they see. Cities are glowing at night. New York, Norfolk, Miami.
The coastline is lit up like a carnival, silhouetting every passing ship perfectly against the horizon. It's like hunting deer under stadium lights. The Americans have not yet organized coastal convoys. They haven't enforced blackouts, and their anti-submarine patrols are almost non-existent. To German submarine captains, it feels unreal. One officer writes in his logbook, "Never have I seen such opportunities for attack." Within the first 2 weeks of Operation Drumbeat, German U-boats sink more than 20 ships. Oil tankers explode into towering fireballs visible from shore. Cargo vessels burn for hours. Sometimes the flames illuminate beach houses along the coast. American civilians stand on shore, watching ships die in the distance. They think it's just an accident, a distant fire. They don't realize the Atlantic War has arrived at their doorstep.
Inside the German submarine fleet, morale soars. Patrol reports arrive back in Berlin filled with incredible numbers. Hardigan alone sinks 9 ships on his first American patrol. Other commanders report similar success. Oil tankers, freighters, passenger liners converted for war supply. They're all going down. In just 6 months of 1942, German U-boats sink nearly 3 million tons of Allied shipping. 3 million, the highest rate of destruction the Atlantic War has ever seen. For Dönitz, this is the moment he's been waiting for. He studies the reports carefully. Ship after ship destroyed, convoys shattered, tankers burned. And he begins to believe something extraordinary. Germany might actually win the Battle of the Atlantic. Because while submarines can be built relatively quickly, large cargo ships take months, sometimes years, and Britain depends on them. Without constant resupply, food rationing becomes starvation. Factories stop. Armies lose fuel. Dönitz looks at the numbers again. They're close, so close. If the sinking rate continues, Britain could collapse before America fully mobilizes, before American industry truly wakes up. And if that happens, the war changes completely. Because if Britain falls, the United States loses its launching pad for Europe. No bases, no convoys, no invasion force. The Allies would be pushed back across the Atlantic. Exactly what Hitler hopes for. Then comes May 1943. The month the U-boat fleet will later call Black May. In just 1 month, Germany loses 41 submarines. 41. Thousands of trained sailors, some of the best commanders in the fleet. Eric Topp barely escapes destruction. Other legendary captains never return. Convoys that once burned helplessly now fight back with terrifying efficiency. Escort carriers launch aircraft that hunt submarines across hundreds of miles. Destroyers track underwater contacts relentlessly. The Atlantic has become a battlefield the U-boats cannot dominate anymore. March 1942. North Atlantic Ocean. Night. The wind cuts across the sea like a blade. Waves rise and fall beneath a sky so dark it seems endless. Somewhere out there, hundreds of miles from land, a convoy struggles westward toward Britain. 34 merchant ships, tankers, cargo freighters, ammunition carriers, each one packed with the lifeblood of the Allied war effort. Food, fuel, steel, tanks, aircraft parts. But tonight, they are not alone. 40 feet beneath the surface, the hydrophone operator aboard U-552 tilts his head slightly, pressing the padded headphones tighter against his ears. At first, It's faint, then unmistakable. Propellers, many of them. His eyes widen. He looks up toward the control room. Herr Kapitän, Schrabengeräusche. Propeller sounds. Commander Eric Top moves instantly to the hydrophone station. Top is young for a U-boat commander, only 27, but already one of Germany's most dangerous submarine captains. He listens. A faint rhythmic hum vibrates through the headphones. Not one ship, many. A convoy. Top's lips curl slightly. Finally, he whispers. He turns to the radio operator. Signal to command. Convoy sighted. Within minutes, a coded message bursts through the darkness of the Atlantic toward Germany's submarine headquarters in France. The message is short, precise. Convoy, position, heading. And somewhere in occupied France, Admiral Karl Donitz receives it. He smiles, because this is exactly how the system was designed to work. Donitz calls it Rudel tactic, the Wolfpack. One submarine finds the convoy, then shadows it, reporting position updates constantly. Meanwhile, other U-boats move toward the targets like predators converging on wounded prey. Soon, 5 submarines, 10, sometimes even 20, all waiting for nightfall. Because at night, U-boats have a terrifying advantage. They attack on the surface, their diesel engines running full power, their silhouettes nearly invisible against the waves. And unlike submerged submarines, surface U-boats can move faster than the merchant ships they hunt, which means they can slip inside the convoy itself, among the targets, like wolves running through a flock of sheep. Midnight. The convoy plows forward through heavy seas. On the bridge of the British escort destroyer HMS Volunteer, Lieutenant Commander James Marshall scans the horizon with binoculars. Convoys are the Allies' answer to the submarine threat. Group the merchant ships together, surround them with warships, destroyers, corvettes, frigates, each armed with sonar and depth charges. In theory, the system works, but in 1942, there aren't enough escorts. The Atlantic is simply too big. And tonight, this convoy has only 4 escort ships protecting 34 cargo vessels. Marshall lowers his binoculars slowly. Something about the sea feels wrong tonight. Too quiet, too empty. He can't see them, but they are there. Watching, waiting. 2 miles away, Eric Top peers through the periscope of U-552. The convoy stretches across the horizon. He counts them slowly. Tankers, Liberty-type freighters, cargo ships. He whispers calculations under his breath. Then he makes his decision. Surface. Compressed air blasts into ballast tanks. The submarine rises. Moments later, U-552 breaks through the waves like a shark. Diesel engines roar to life. The boat accelerates toward the convoy. No torpedoes yet. First, they must get closer. 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 Until individual ships begin to separate clearly in the darkness. Top smiles coldly. They still haven't seen us. Across the Atlantic, other U-boats receive the signal. One of them is commanded by Heinrich Lehmann Willenbrock, captain of U-96. His submarine would later inspire the famous novel and film Das Boot. But tonight, there is nothing cinematic about what he sees. Just targets. Ships moving slowly across black water. He gives the order. Torpedo tubes ready. Men rush through the narrow hull. Metal doors slam. Hydraulic pumps whine. Inside the torpedo room, sailors load G-7A steam torpedoes, powerful weapons capable of breaking a cargo ship's spine in seconds. Each torpedo weighs over 3,000 pounds, but inside this cramped steel tube, they move them like factory workers, quickly, efficiently, because every second counts.
Back at the convoy, it begins with a single explosion, a bright flash, then a rising column of fire. The tanker SS Empire Steel erupts as a torpedo detonates beneath its fuel tanks. Flames shoot hundreds of feet into the air. The night suddenly becomes daylight. Men on nearby ships stare in horror. Then another explosion. Another ship is hit. Then another. The radio crackles desperately across the convoy. Submarine attack! Submarine attack! But it's too late. The Wolfpack has arrived. U-boats slash through the convoy formation from every direction. Torpedoes streak across the water. Explosions hammer the sea. Ships begin burning everywhere. Escort destroyers race toward suspected submarine positions, dropping depth charges that explode underwater like massive thunderclaps. But the submarines keep coming. Some fire torpedoes from outside the convoy. Others slip directly between merchant ships before attacking at point-blank range. Chaos spreads. Burning oil spreads across the waves. Lifeboats tumble into freezing water. Sailors cling to wreckage. Some ships vanish within minutes. Others burn slowly for hours. Inside U-552, Eric Topp watches through the periscope as one freighter begins to break apart. The bow sinks first. The stern rises into the air. Then the entire ship disappears beneath the Atlantic. Topp lowers the scope. Next target. No celebration, no emotion, just efficiency.
By dawn, the convoy is shattered. 7 ships are gone. 4 more are crippled. Thousands of tons of cargo lie at the bottom of the ocean. And the U-boats? Most of them escape, silent again, vanishing beneath the waves before Allied aircraft arrive. Back in Germany, reports from across the Atlantic flood into naval headquarters. Another convoy destroyed. Another dozen ships sunk. The numbers keep climbing. By summer 1942, German submarines are sinking ships faster than at any point in the war. Sometimes 3 or 4 ships in a single night. Dönitz studies the charts carefully. He compares Allied ship losses against estimated production, and the numbers look promising, very promising, because even Britain's shipyards cannot replace losses this quickly. Each large cargo ship requires enormous resources: steel, engines, turbines, skilled workers, months of construction, sometimes longer. Every ship sunk is a long-term loss, or so it seems. German intelligence officers estimate that the Allies are dangerously close to collapse. Shipping losses are approaching 600,000 tons per month, almost the number Dönitz needs, almost the number that could strangle Britain completely. In Berlin, naval officers whisper something almost unbelievable. The U-boats are winning the war.
And inside the submarine fleet, the captains begin to believe it too. In ports like Lorient, Saint-Nazaire, and Brest, returning submarines receive heroes' welcomes. Bands play, officers salute, cameras flash. Newspapers print their photographs across Germany. Knights of the Atlantic, masters of underwater warfare. Some captains become legends. Otto Kretschmer,
Erich Topp, Reinhard Hardigan. They dine with admirals, receive medals from Hitler himself. Young naval officers dream of commanding U-boats, because out on the Atlantic, it seems like victory is only a matter of time.
But while submarine crews celebrate, across the ocean, American shipyards are becoming louder, busier, more crowded, and something strange is beginning to happen, something that German naval intelligence completely misunderstands. Because American shipbuilders are not trying to make ships better, they are trying to make them faster, much faster. Instead of complex designs, they choose something simple, ugly, functional, a ship that can be built quickly, very quickly. Its name is simple, the Liberty ship. At first, German analysts dismiss it. The design looks crude, old-fashioned, slow. Surely such ships cannot be produced in large numbers. But in shipyards from California to Maine, construction lines are forming. Steel plates are prefabricated. Hull segments are welded instead of riveted. Entire ship segments are assembled separately, then joined together like pieces of a giant puzzle. It's not elegant, it's not beautiful, but it is incredibly fast. At first, no one realizes just how fast, not even the Americans. But within months, something astonishing will happen, something that will make German submarine commanders stare at shipping reports in disbelief. Because the ships they destroy will start reappearing again and again and again, faster than anyone thought possible. And soon, the Atlantic will begin to change.
September 27th, 1941. Richmond, California. 6:58 a.m. A cold Pacific fog rolls slowly across the shipyard. Steel towers rise through the mist like skeletons of unfinished giants. Sparks burst from welding torches. The sharp metallic crack of hammers echoes across the docks. And everywhere you look, people, thousands of them. Men in oil-stained coveralls, women in welding masks, engineers clutching blueprints, cranes swinging massive steel plates overhead like toys. This is Kaiser Shipyard number 2, and something unusual is happening here. At the center of the yard stands an unfinished cargo ship, its gray hull towering over the workers like a small skyscraper. The ship isn't beautiful. Its design plain, boxy, almost crude. But no one here cares about elegance, because this ship represents an experiment, an industrial gamble. If it works, the war might change.
The man responsible for this idea is not an admiral, not a naval architect, not even a sailor. His name is Henry J. Kaiser, a construction magnate, a man who built massive dams during the Great Depression, projects once considered impossible. Now the U.S. government has given him a challenge unlike anything before. Build cargo ships, thousands of them, fast enough to replace every ship German submarines destroy. Kaiser looks out across the shipyard with a quiet smile, because he knows something the Germans don't. This shipyard isn't building ships the traditional way. It's building them like cars, assembly line style.
Before the war, cargo ships were constructed slowly, painstakingly. Thousands of steel plates riveted together one by one. A single ship could take 8 months, sometimes a year to complete. Too slow, far too slow. So Kaiser and his engineers redesigned the entire process. Instead of building ships piece by piece in a single dock, they divide them into sections. Entire parts of the ship are assembled in different areas of the yard. The bow, the stern, the engine room, cargo holds. Each section is built simultaneously. Workers weld steel plates together quickly using new electric welding techniques. Then giant cranes lift these sections into place, and suddenly the ship comes together almost overnight. It's not traditional shipbuilding, it's industrial mass production. And today, they are about to prove just how powerful that idea can be.
The ship's name is SS Robert E. Peary, a Liberty ship, named after the famous Arctic explorer. At exactly 7:01 a.m., a whistle blows across the shipyard. Workers move into position. Cranes lift prefabricated steel sections into place. Welders move like choreographed dancers. Arc torches flash. Metal hisses. Steel plates fuse together. Hour after hour. No breaks, no pauses. The ship rises before their eyes. Lunch comes and goes. Still they work. By afternoon, the skeleton of the vessel stands complete. Deck plates slide into place. The bridge structure appears. Pipes run through engine compartments. Workers shout measurements across the hull. Welders climb scaffolding like ants across a steel mountain. The pace never slows because this isn't just construction, it's a demonstration. The government wants proof that ships can be built faster, much faster, and Kaiser intends to deliver. Late that evening, crowds gather along the dock. Journalists, government officials, naval officers. They stare at the massive gray ship floating in the water, trying to process what they're seeing. Because construction of the Robert E. Peary began only 4 days earlier. 4 days. The crowd murmurs in disbelief. Reporters scribble furiously in notebooks. Flashbulbs pop. Someone asks Kaiser quietly, "How long did it actually take?" He smiles slightly. 4 days, 15 hours, and 29 minutes. The ship slides down the launch ramp into the harbor. The splash echoes across the yard, and the crowd erupts in cheers. Across the Atlantic, no one in Germany hears about it. Or if they do, they dismiss it. A publicity stunt. One ship built quickly means nothing. After all, submarines are sinking ships every week. Dozens of them. The Atlantic is still filled with targets. But they failed to see the larger picture, because shipyards like Kaiser's are multiplying. Richmond, Baltimore, Savannah, Portland, New Orleans. Across the United States, 18 massive shipyards begin producing Liberty ships, each one using the same assembly line methods, each one improving speed with every hull. Workers arrive by the tens of thousands. Many have never built ships before. Farmers, teachers, factory workers, even teenagers. Women join the workforce in huge numbers, welding, riveting, operating cranes. Some work 12-hour shifts, some work overnight. The shipyards never sleep. Lights blaze across the docks 24 hours a day. The war demands ships, and America is determined to deliver them. By early 1942, the results begin appearing. At first, just a few ships. Then dozens. Then hundreds. Convoys leaving American ports suddenly contained vessels the Germans have never seen before. Ships with unfamiliar silhouettes, simple designs, straight lines, boxy cargo holds. Liberty ships. German submarine captains notice them quickly. Inside the cramped control room of U-404, Commander Otto von Bülow studies a convoy through his periscope. He frowns slightly. Something seems strange. Many of the ships look almost identical. Same shape, same layout, almost as if they were stamped out in a factory. He shrugs. It doesn't matter. A ship is a ship, and torpedoes don't care about design. Fire. A torpedo streaks forward. Seconds later, a Liberty ship explodes into flames. The submarine crew cheers quietly. Another victory. Another ship sunk. Another step closer to starving Britain. But somewhere far across the ocean, another Liberty ship is already sliding down a launch ramp. Then another. Then another. Soon, they are launching 3 ships per day, then 5 per day, then even more. The production numbers begin climbing so quickly that even American planners struggle to keep up. By late 1942, the United States will launch over 2,700 Liberty ships during the war, more than 1 ship every 2 days at peak production. The scale is almost impossible to comprehend. And slowly, very slowly, German intelligence begins to notice something strange.
Back in submarine headquarters in France, shipping reports arrive weekly. At first, they look normal. Ships sunk, convoys attacked, tonnage destroyed. But then analysts begin comparing the numbers more carefully. Something isn't adding up. Even after massive submarine victories, Allied convoys keep coming, just as large as before, sometimes larger. Routes remain active. Supplies continue reaching Britain. The British are not starving. Their factories are still operating. Their armies are still fighting. Dönitz stares at the reports in silence, because the numbers should show collapse. Instead, they show resilience, impossible resilience. He begins asking questions. How many ships are the Americans building? The answer comes back slowly. First estimate, 2 ships per week. Then updated intelligence arrives. 10 ships per week. Another report arrives months later. The numbers change again. More than 1 ship per day. Dönitz frowns. Impossible. No nation has ever built ships at that speed. But the reports keep coming, and they keep getting worse. Because every time a U-boat sinks a freighter, another appears weeks later. Convoys grow larger, escort ships become more numerous, and somewhere deep in the Atlantic, German submarine captains begin noticing something unsettling. The ocean feels different. More aircraft, more destroyers, more radar patrols. The hunting grounds are becoming dangerous, very dangerous. And soon, the realization will arrive. Not suddenly, but slowly, like a storm building over the horizon. Because the shipyards of America are not just replacing losses, they are outproducing destruction. The industrial machine has awakened, and when it reaches full speed, even the deadliest submarines in the world will not be able to stop it. But the U-boat captains don't know that yet. For now, they are still celebrating, still sinking ships, still believing victory is within reach, and the Atlantic still belongs to the wolves. For now.
January 1943. U-boat Command Headquarters, Lorient, occupied France. 7:12 a.m. The Atlantic wind rattles the windows of the concrete bunker. Inside, the room smells faintly of cigarette smoke and damp wool uniforms. A long table stretches beneath dim electric lamps. Maps of the Atlantic cover the walls, shipping lanes traced in red pencil, convoy routes marked in blue. At the head of the table sits Gross Admiral Karl Dönitz, silent, waiting. An intelligence officer steps forward with a folder thick with reports, shipping losses, U-boat patrol summaries, Allied convoy traffic, routine paperwork, at least on the surface, but the officer hesitates before speaking. That alone is unusual. Dönitz notices immediately. "Begin," he says calmly. The officer clears his throat. January shipping sinkings, 203,000 tons. Several officers nod. That's good. Not spectacular, but good. Submarine losses are acceptable. Convoys are still being attacked. The war in the Atlantic continues. But then the officer flips to the next page, and Allied ship production for the same period. He pauses. Over 700,000 tons. The room goes quiet. Not the usual silence of military discipline, a different silence, the kind that creeps in when something impossible has just been said. Dönitz slowly lifts his head. "Repeat that number." The officer swallows. 700,000 tons, Herr Gross Admiral. Someone near the back of the room shifts uncomfortably, because everyone here understands the implications. Dönitz had built his entire strategy on a single equation: sink more ships than the Allies can build. But now, the numbers are reversed, completely reversed. Across the Atlantic, the shipyards are roaring. At Richmond Shipyard, cranes swing overhead like mechanical giants. Welding sparks flash in every direction. Another Liberty ship slides into the water. Workers cheer. Someone blows a whistle. But even before the splash settles, another hull is already halfway finished beside it. The yard foreman shouts across the dock, "Next launch in 3 hours." 3 hours. During the entire war, American shipyards will launch one Liberty ship every 42 hours on average. But in some yards, they do it even faster. Entire fleets of cargo ships appear almost overnight. Convoys leaving American ports now contain ships barely weeks old. Fresh paint, brand new engines, cargo holds ready to carry everything from Sherman tanks to aircraft fuel. The Atlantic supply chain is no longer fragile. It's becoming unstoppable. Out at sea, German submarine captains are starting to feel it. February 1943, North Atlantic. Inside U-608, Kapitänleutnant Rolf Struckmeyer watches through his periscope. A convoy passes slowly across the horizon, 40 ships. Then he notices something strange. Too many escort vessels, destroyers, corvettes, even escort carriers, small aircraft carriers built specifically to hunt submarines. Struckmeyer mutters quietly, "That's new." Because a year earlier, convoys rarely had enough escorts. Now they seem almost overprotected. He keeps watching. Another strange detail appears. Aircraft. A British patrol plane circles above the convoy. Then another appears on the opposite horizon. The Allies are filling the air gap, the dangerous stretch of the Atlantic where aircraft once could not reach.
New long-range patrol bombers now cover almost the entire ocean, meaning submarines are rarely safe on the surface. And submarines must surface often to recharge batteries, to run diesel engines, to survive. Struckmeyer lowers the periscope slowly. The ocean is no longer empty. The wolves are being watched.
Inside Allied headquarters, new technologies are quietly changing the war. Radar now detects submarines at night. High-frequency direction finding tracks U-boat radio signals. Hedgehog anti-submarine mortars allow destroyers to attack more accurately. And perhaps most important of all, the Allies are reading German communications. Because British codebreakers at Bletchley Park have cracked parts of the German Enigma cipher system. Not perfectly, not constantly, but enough. Enough to reroute convoys around submarine wolfpacks. Enough to send destroyers directly toward hunting submarines. Suddenly, the hunters are becoming the hunted.
March 1943. U-boat base at Saint-Nazaire, France. A submarine limps into harbor. Its hull is scarred from depth charge blasts. Paint peeled, metal plates dented inward like crushed armor. Crewmen stumble out of the hatch, looking exhausted. The captain removes his cap slowly. His eyes are hollow. Inside the command bunker, Dönitz receives the patrol report. 3 ships sunk, but the submarine was hunted for 4 days straight by destroyers. At one point, over 100 depth charges exploded around the boat. The crew nearly suffocated while hiding on the ocean floor. Dönitz reads quietly, then sets the report down. Because this isn't an isolated incident anymore. More reports are arriving like this. Submarines hunted relentlessly, submarines destroyed, entire wolf packs wiped out.
Then comes May 1943, the month the U-boat fleet will later call Black May. In just 1 month, Germany loses 41 submarines. 41. Thousands of trained sailors, some of the best commanders in the fleet. Eric Topp barely escapes destruction. Other legendary captains never return. Convoys that once burned helplessly now fight back with terrifying efficiency. Escort carriers launch aircraft that hunt submarines across hundreds of miles. Destroyers track underwater contacts relentlessly. The Atlantic has become a battlefield the U-boats cannot dominate anymore.
Back in Lorient, Dönitz studies the loss reports. Page after page. Each one a submarine. Each one a crew. Each one years of training and experience, lost forever. He does the math again. Ships sunk versus submarines lost. The equation is broken, completely broken. Germany cannot replace submarines fast enough. But the Americans, they can replace ships faster than anyone imagined. Dönitz stands slowly and walks toward the wall map. Pins mark submarine positions across the Atlantic. Weeks earlier, they covered the ocean like a net. Now, many are gone. Empty spaces remain. He removes several pins quietly. Then he speaks to his officers. We must withdraw the boats from the North Atlantic. The words hang in the room like a verdict, because everyone here understands what that means. The U-boats have lost control of the Atlantic. Not in a single battle, not from one catastrophic defeat, but from something far more powerful. Industry, shipyards, factories, production lines, the kind of power submarines simply cannot fight. Far across the ocean, another Liberty ship launches into the water. Then another. Then another. Each one carrying the same quiet message across the Atlantic. You can sink us, but you cannot sink them all. And slowly, the German submarine captains begin to understand. The Atlantic is no longer theirs. The wolves are no longer hunting. They are surviving. And the ocean that once felt like their kingdom has become a graveyard.
The German U-boats had once ruled the Atlantic, their steel predators striking fear into the hearts of sailors. But the ocean is vast and industry unstoppable. American shipyards rose like titans, churning out Liberty ships faster than the submarines could sink them. Victory, it turns out, was no longer measured in torpedoes, but in production, resilience, and relentless determination. The Atlantic had changed forever. The wolves were no longer the hunters. They were being hunted. If you felt the tension, the danger, and the sheer scale of this story, smash the like button. Comment below. What do you think would have happened if Germany had matched American ship production? Share this video with anyone who loves World War II history and epic stories of strategy and survival. And don't forget to subscribe to YBR, The Sword and the Story, and hit the bell icon. Every Saturday at 9 p.m., we dive deep into history, one story at a time. Because history isn't just about the past. It's a lesson, a warning, and a story waiting to be told.